Elena never imagined that saying no to a high-profile nanny job would save her life. What began as a simple job interview quickly turned into a dangerous encounter with a man who hid his true nature behind wealth and power. Elena had always carried herself with a quiet grace. At 28, she lived in a small but cozy apartment in Meadow Ridge, where she worked as a nanny for families across the nearby cities. She wasn't wealthy, but she took immense pride in her work, especially when it came to caring for children. And nothing lit up her world more than little Victoria, the 8-month-old baby girl she currently cared for. Victoria lived with her parents, Diego and Brenda Martinez, in a warm beige-colored 2-story home in North Ridge. Diego worked in Riverton City as an architect, while Brenda was a digital illustrator who worked from home. Their lives were fast-paced, busy, and often chaotic, which made Elena's presence a blessing they never took for granted. Every morning, Elena arrived with her hair tied in a neat bun, wearing soft sneakers and her favorite navy blue nanny uniform. She always carried her bag of essentials, spare diapers, baby snacks, a tiny music box, and her well-used mop, the kind she preferred to use to keep Victoria's play area spotless. To her, caring for a child meant caring for everything around the child. Victoria adored her. Her chubby arms always stretched toward Elena the moment she arrived, her bright hazel eyes sparkling with excitement. Elena would scoop her up gently, humming as she pressed a kiss to the baby's forehead. But life in the Martinez household was about to change in ways none of them expected. One Thursday morning, as Elena finished mopping spilled juice from the tiled kitchen floor, her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She glanced at the caller ID. Evan was the coordinator at a reputable nanny placement agency in Brookline. He rarely called unless something important was happening. Elena answered with a soft, "Good morning." "Hi, Elena," Evan said. "I know you're with the Martinez family, but something came up. A new position just opened in Riverton City. A high-profile family. They specifically asked for someone gentle, dependable, someone like you." Elena froze slightly, the mop still in her hand. She loved Victoria deeply. Leaving her felt unimaginable. But opportunities like this did not come often, especially for someone living in Meadow Ridge with bills tightening every month. "Can I think about it?" Elena asked quietly. "Of course. But they will want to interview you soon." She hung up, her heart suddenly heavier than before. Later that afternoon, as Victoria napped peacefully, Elena stepped outside to take a breath. That's when she ran into Vince, a neighbor and longtime friend who lived down the street in North Ridge. "You look stressed," Vince said, leaning against his car. Elena sighed. "I might be offered a new nanny job in Riverton City." "That's great, isn't it?" "I don't know. I don't want to leave Victoria." Vince crossed his arms. "Just be careful. I've heard some things about wealthy families in Riverton. Some treat staff like property. Especially a man named Travis Cole. Big businessman. People say he's difficult." Elena shivered, though she wasn't sure why. She thanked Vince and returned inside, trying not to worry. But the unease stayed with her. The next day, Diego and Brenda sat with her at the kitchen table. Their faces were tender but worried. "Elena," Brenda said softly, "Evan called us. He told us you were being considered for the Riverton City position." Elena blinked, surprised. "He did?" Diego nodded. "He wanted permission to contact your references." Brenda reached across the table and took Elena's hand. "If this is what's best for you, we won't stand in your way. But Victoria, she loves you. And we do too." Elena swallowed, her heart tightening painfully. "I haven't decided yet," she whispered. I want what's right." But even she didn't know what that was. 2 days later, Evan called again. "Elena, the family in Riverton City is eager. They've arranged a private meeting. The father's name is Travis Cole." Her breath caught. The same name Vince had warned her about. "Will you go for the interview?" Evan asked. Elena looked down at baby Victoria, who was chewing on her tiny plush rabbit and giggling softly. Her decision would change everything. After a long silence, Elena finally said, "Yes. I'll go." She didn't realize that the choice she made that day would pull her into a world of secrets, power, and danger, far beyond anything she had ever known. Elena arrived in Riverton City early Monday morning, her nerves buzzing beneath her calm expression. The streets here were faster, louder, and busier than Meadow Ridge. Tall glass buildings lined the sidewalks like silent giants watching everything below. The address Evan sent led her to Cole Residence, a modern house surrounded by trimmed hedges and black iron gates. A security guard checked her name, then waved her through. Elena took a deep breath and stepped inside. The living room was huge, white marble floors, silver furniture, clean lines everywhere. It felt cold, almost too perfect, like a place where laughter rarely lived. A tall man in a charcoal suit walked in, his steps sharp and impatient. "Miss Thompson," he greeted. "I'm Travis Cole." Elena stood respectfully. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Cole." He looked her over slowly, not in an inappropriate way, but in a calculating, assessing manner, as if he were measuring her usefulness. "You come highly recommended," he said. "Your agency says you're reliable, disciplined, gentle with children." "Yes, sir," Elena replied quietly. "And you currently work for the Martinez family?" "Yes." Travis nodded once, his expression unreadable. "I'll be direct," he said. "My daughter, Susan, is 8 months old. I want someone who will care for her full time. You would move in here. No distractions. No outside commitments. My daughter comes first." The words were heavy. Elena felt her stomach twist. No outside commitments? Full time? Move in? That meant leaving Meadow Ridge, leaving Victoria, leaving everything. Travis watched her closely. "Can you do that?" Elena's voice trembled. "I need some time to think." "Fine," he said, though he didn't sound pleased. "But not too long. I need someone immediately." As she walked out of the house, she finally understood what Vince meant. Something about Travis felt controlled and cold, like someone who expected the world to bend for him. And yet, she still didn't know what she would choose. When Elena returned to North Ridge later that evening, she found Diego and Brenda waiting for her on the porch. They looked anxious, hopeful, and worried all at once. "How was it?" Brenda asked gently. Elena sank onto the step beside them. "He wants someone who will move in. Full time. No outside life." Diego frowned. "He said that?" Elena nodded. "Yes." Brenda shook her head. "Elena, that sounds like a lot. And I don't want you to feel trapped." Before Elena could respond, a sudden sound came from inside the house, Victoria crying. Elena stood quickly, her heart tugging. She went inside, scooped the baby girl into her arms, and held her close. Victoria immediately calmed, snuggling into her chest with sleepy whimpers. And in that moment, Elena knew. Leaving her would break her heart. But staying meant closing the door to an opportunity she might never get again. Her life felt split in two, and she didn't know which side to choose. Later that night, after the Martinez family went to sleep, Elena stepped outside for air. As she reached the sidewalk, she spotted Vince across the street, pacing and talking on his phone. He looked stressed, very stressed. "Elena," he called when he noticed her. "I was just coming to see you." "What happened?" she asked. Vince lowered his voice. "Listen. I've heard more things about Travis Cole. Not just rumors. Actual complaints from former staff." Elena's heart dropped. "What kind of complaints?" "People say he's controlling. Possessive. Quick-tempered. A few said he threatened them when they tried to leave his employment." A cold chill ran down Elena's spine. "That doesn't mean he'll hurt his nanny," she said softly. Vince shook his head. "Elena, a man who can't respect boundaries is a man who can't be trusted. Please be careful if you decide to work for him." She thanked Vince, but worry crawled deeper into her chest. She wasn't the type to judge someone quickly, but everything about Travis felt wrong. Still, she needed clarity. She needed facts, not fear. So she made one final decision. She would go back to the Cole residence, but this time, unannounced. The next morning, Elena told Brenda she was stepping out for a few hours. She traveled back to Riverton City, her heart pounding as she approached the Cole residence again. She wasn't sure what she expected to find. But she definitely didn't expect the front door to be wide open. Inside, the house was silent, too silent. She stepped in cautiously. "Hello?" she called. No answer. Then she heard it. A faint whimper. A baby's whimper. Elena followed the sound up the stairs to a large nursery. Inside, baby Susan sat alone in her crib, her face red from crying, her tiny hands grabbing the air in distress. "Oh sweetheart," Elena rushed to her, lifting her gently. Susan calmed instantly, her body melting into Elena's shoulder. But where was Travis? Why was the door open? Why was the baby alone? Before she could make sense of anything, a voice cut through the air behind her. "What are you doing in my house?" Elena turned, and froze. Travis stood in the doorway, his face twisted with anger she had never seen before. I heard the baby crying," Elena stammered. "Your door was open. I thought something was wrong." "You thought wrong," he snapped. "Put her down." Elena hesitated. His voice was harsh, sharp, nothing like the calm man she met the day before. "Mr. Cole," Elena said softly, she was alone. She was crying. "I said put her down." For the first time, Elena realized the truth. She was standing inside the home of a man who could flip without warning. She placed Susan gently back into the crib and backed away. Travis stepped closer, lowering his voice to a chilling whisper. "You don't get to come into my house uninvited. And you don't get to decide what my daughter needs. Do you understand?" Elena felt her hands trembling. "Yes, sir." "Get out." She obeyed instantly. And as the door slammed behind her, she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She would never work for Travis Cole. But she didn't yet know. Travis Cole wasn't done with her. Elena returned to Meadow Ridge shaken, quiet, and pale. She didn't tell Brenda and Diego the full story, just that the job wasn't right for her. They didn't ask further. They simply hugged her and welcomed her back. Days passed. Life slowly returned to normal. But something felt off. Elena noticed strange cars driving slowly down the street. She felt watched when she took Victoria on her morning walks. She received 2 unknown calls where no one spoke on the other end. And then one evening, as she was cleaning Victoria's play area with her mop, a loud knock echoed from the front door. Brenda answered, and froze. "Mr. Cole," she breathed. Elena's heart sank. Travis stepped into the house uninvited, his expression cold and intense. "You cost me time, Miss Thompson," he said. "I offered you a position. You showed interest. Then you disappeared. I want answers." Brenda stepped between them. "You need to leave. Now." But Travis didn't listen. His eyes were fixed on Elena. "I want her to work for me. She owes me at least that much." Elena's fear finally turned to strength. "No," she said firmly. "I don't work for controlling people. I don't work for men who leave babies crying alone. I don't work for someone who scares me." Travis blinked, stunned by her boldness. And then, unexpectedly, Diego walked in from the kitchen holding his phone. "I've already called the police," he said calmly. "You have 10 seconds to walk out of this house before you get arrested." For a moment, no one moved. Finally, Travis stepped back, his jaw tight with fury, and stormed out. The police arrived minutes later, took statements, and assured the family they would monitor the neighborhood for a few days. Elena sat trembling on the couch. Brenda hugged her tightly. "You're safe," Brenda whispered. "You're home." Elena realized that she didn't need a high-profile job in a fancy city. She didn't need wealth or prestige. She needed peace. She needed purpose. She needed a family that valued her heart, not her obedience. And she had that here. Weeks later, Elena stood in the backyard, rocking Victoria gently while the sun set behind the rooftops of North Ridge. The breeze was soft, the world quiet, and her heart finally at ease. Brenda joined her with 2 cups of tea and smiled warmly. "You made the right choice," she said. Elena nodded, brushing her cheek against the baby's soft hair. "I know. And I wouldn't trade this for anything." As Victoria giggled and reached for her necklace, Elena felt tears prick her eyes, grateful tears. She had faced control. She had faced danger. She had stood up for herself and the child she loved. And in the end, she chose the life that gave her peace. The family that gave her love. The home that gave her worth. Meadow Ridge wasn't just where she lived. It was where she belonged.